Hello, my name is Alexandria Russell, and I wanted to share my clinical integration action plan with you guys for our research course. I work for the Tennessee Center for Reproductive Acupuncture here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we specialize in fertility, reproductive, and prenatal support for our patients. My focus for this project was to research different updated methods that are going on in the fertility and acupuncture world, along with updating our marketing and social media materials to allow easier handouts for not only our patients, but our reproductive endocrinologists and fertility clinics in the area. I wanted to also reestablish and build those connections with our fertility clinics. We are situated in a unique area here in East Tennessee. We have 3 highly recommended fertility and reproductive clinics here in the area, but we also have the NEDC, which is the National Embryo Donation Center, and that's where folks can donate their embryos and allow them to be adopted for those who are not able to use their own eggs or sperm. So it's very cool process. But we also work with patients who work with clinics in Nashville, Asheville, and also Chattanooga. We have clinics coming to us from Colorado, Cincinnati, Ohio, and even New York who work with their clinics out there. So we get a lot of traffic out here in Knoxville, so it's very cool. So I would like to reconnect with those clinics. And then I also want to provide that meaningful connection to not only the doctors, but also the staff, because the staff are an integral part of those clinics. They spend a lot of time with the patients. And if patients ask about acupuncture, I want the staff to be comfortable talking about it. So the first step was to delve into the research. Now at our clinic, when I started working there in 2019, I created our initial marketing materials, handouts, and social media. So that was a big part of my job as the clinical manager as I was going through school. And in creating those documents, those were really meant to be handed out to patients. We haven't created any materials that are meant to be handed out to the fertility clinics other than our general brochure about what we do. So I wanted to kind of refresh this based on new research and update it so that way we can give it to the reproductive endocrinologists and their staff just to be a little more, not too medical, but a little more informative than what we would sometimes talk about with the patient. In delving into that research, this is just an overview slide of what I found, in that acupuncture is increasing in the fertility world. People are using it more to regulate their cycles, decrease period cramps and discomfort, but also increase regulation and hormones and all of that stuff. So what we're looking at here is specifically the research is saying acupuncture is being used more for fertility treatments. Acupuncture specifically done before an embryo transfer is having significant difference in outcomes. And then also acupuncture is showing a great effect on the psycho-emotional piece, which we had not really looked at. I mean, we knew as acupuncturists, but the research wasn't really reflecting that until recently. So that was pretty cool. Almost every study that I pulled did not meet the stricted guidelines, which was a little bit disappointing. But you're going to find that. And a lot of them said, of course, some of these results are inconclusive. More research needs to be done. So just kind of being lenient with that. So here's a couple of quotes that I pulled from the research that I found, and you'll see, yeah, there's that positive effect for the before embryo transfer. At our clinic, we typically do a before and after embryo transfer. So on the day of transfer, the patient would come to us about an hour to an hour and a half before their embryo transfer. Because we are so close to the clinic, they hardly have any travel time. Then they would go to the clinic and then come back to our clinic afterwards. But the research is saying before, so we would want to reflect that again in our materials that we hand out to the clinics. The thing that was also important to me was the psycho-emotional piece. It's very difficult trying to have a child. Couples try, and it has a great impact on those going through this. The medications can be really rough, and cycle disappointment can be really just, I mean, what it sounds, disappointing. So those going through IVF found that acupuncture helped them in dealing with infertility. So for this project, I really had to adjust my timelines, make sure I was taking continuing education and keeping up with the safety courses, refreshing those details. Again, we had a basis for some of our marketing materials, but it needs to be refreshed and customized a little bit. And then refocusing on the connection piece, because ultimately the goal of this project is to go out, visit the clinics, and have a little lunch and learn for the doctors and their staff. So in adjusting this project, I was originally going to be done with this project in early 2023. And since we do have some of the foundational materials, that's why I was able to have such a quick timeline. But when it came to all the aspects of doing a lunch and learn, the staff, the timing, the budget, how much could we actually do as a clinic? I had to really adjust those expectations. Now I do have the first half of my project done, which is the basic handouts and marketing materials and social media that we would be taking to these clinics. I also have the PowerPoint ready to go just on what acupuncture can do and why it's important in different fertility cycles. So that piece is done. My next piece is to start researching East Tennessee, Knoxville. And also we do have established relationships with 3 of the clinics in the area. So just reaching back out to them, connecting with them, and connecting with any new clinics in our area and seeing if they'd be willing to let us come out, let us give them lunch, and go from there. And kind of setting up to make sure that we have continued check-ins with them. So in all that, I probably wouldn't even start reaching out to clinics until mid 2023, getting them scheduled. And then honestly, this project, I know it says mid to late 2023, but I projected it to go in my action plan out until 2024. So giving myself a lot of time, given that we could probably only do 1 clinic a month at this point, and going on to the process. So here's just an overview of what the end goal is. And really the end goal is doing those lunch and learns, making the connections, making sure the staff are comfortable talking with patients because they're in the room with those going through fertility a lot longer. And when I did my clinical experience class for not this specific class, but the overall program at 5 Branches, I found that a lot of the staff just thought acupuncture was used in the embryo transfer process. They didn't know acupuncture was good at regulating cycles or the period. They didn't know acupuncture could be used early on and that it was shown to be beneficial up to 3 months before you even start a fertility cycle. The success rates increase. And they didn't know acupuncture was used for pregnancy or anything like that. So you'll see on the next slide, just my overall goal is to create these lasting connections with the clinic and making sure that we are able to be as prepared as we possibly can to do this and make this long term. So having those foundational pieces, making sure we have all our certificates, education ongoing, so that way clinics and patients feel confident in the care that they are getting, making sure to have our social media and resources up to date on our website, so that way after we do the lunch and learns, we already have that in place and ready to go. So for those of you who have gone out to fertility clinics or done any lunch and learns, what advice would you give? I would love to hear from you. I would love more educational resources, or if you have a journal subscription or any conferences. I am looking into the ABORM certificate, and I would like to hear if that has been beneficial to anyone who's gone through that fellowship program. Any questions? And lastly, these are the clinics I work for, so I would love to connect with you guys and learn more. And here's my contact information. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great afternoon.